Commander Hyunwoo stood on the bridge of the starship New Seoul and watched the biggest space station he had ever seen grow larger on his screen. The metal ring was so huge that Earth could fit inside it 10 times. Lights blinked across its surface like stars, and ships moved around it like tiny insects. "Sir, we are getting close to the Federation capital station," said Nari, the ship's science officer. She was studying her computer screen with wide eyes. "The readings are amazing. This place has more people living on it than our entire planet." Dongmin, the military officer, walked over to stand next to them. His face was serious as he looked at the massive station. "I count over 300 warships around that thing. Each one is bigger than our ship." Hyunwoo nodded. 3 months ago, Earth had received the first message from space. The Galactic Federation wanted to meet with humanity. They said Earth was ready to join the galaxy's family of worlds. It seemed like the best day in human history. Now Hyunwoo was not so sure. The journey to the Federation capital had taken 2 months. During that time, they had seen things that worried him. Dead planets with no life on them. Ships that looked like they had been destroyed in battles. And always, Federation ships watching them from a distance. "Open a channel to the station," Hyunwoo ordered. The main screen changed to show a creature that looked like a giant lizard wearing fancy clothes. Its yellow eyes stared at them with no warmth. "Human ship. This is Chancellor Vextar of the Galactic Federation. You will dock at Bay 773 and follow our guards to the meeting room. Do not bring weapons. Do not try to record anything. Do you understand?" "Yes, Chancellor," Hyunwoo replied. "We are honored to be here." The lizard creature did not smile. "You will be." The screen went black. Nari looked worried. "Sir, that did not sound very friendly." "Maybe they are just being careful," Hyunwoo said, but he did not believe his own words. The New Seoul docked with the station. As soon as they opened the door, 10 alien guards surrounded them. The guards carried energy weapons and wore thick armor. They did not speak as they led the humans through long metal hallways. The station was full of creatures Hyunwoo had never imagined. Some looked like giant insects with many arms. Others had blue skin and no hair. He saw beings made of what looked like living rock and others that seemed to be made of pure energy. All of them stopped what they were doing to stare at the humans. Their looks were not friendly or curious. They looked angry, or maybe scared. The guards brought them to a huge round room with seats going up in circles like a stadium. Thousands of alien beings sat in those seats, all looking down at the 3 humans standing in the center. Chancellor Vextar sat on a high platform above everyone else. Next to him was a creature that looked like a giant praying mantis with silver skin. "Humans," the Chancellor said, his voice echoing through the room. "I am Chancellor Vextar. This is Prime Minister Thara. You stand before the Galactic Senate of 847 worlds." The mantis creature's voice sounded like clicking metal. "We have studied your species for many months. We have watched your history. We have seen what you do to your own planet and each other." Hyunwoo stepped forward. "Honored leaders, we come in peace. Earth wants to join the galactic community and learn from older civilizations." The Chancellor made a sound that might have been laughing, but it was not. Happy. "Join us, learn from us. Humans, you do not understand why you are here." The room became very quiet. Hyunwoo felt his heart beating faster. "You are here," said Prime Minister Thara, "because the galaxy has voted on what to do with your species." A giant screen appeared above them, showing star maps and numbers. Hyunwoo saw Earth marked in red. "Your species is dangerous," the Chancellor continued. "In only 200 years, you went from wooden ships to spaceflight. You created weapons that could destroy your own planet. You fight constant wars. You consume resources faster than any species we have seen. But we are learning," Hyunwoo said desperately. "We are trying to be better. We stopped the big wars. We are working together now." "Yes," clicked Prime Minister Thara. "You are learning. You are becoming stronger. And that is exactly why we must act now, while you are still weak." The screen changed to show human cities, human ships, human technology. "Our scientists predict that in 50 years, Humanity will have weapons that could threaten the entire galaxy. In 100 years, you will be strong enough to challenge the Federation itself. We cannot allow this. Dongmin grabbed Hyunwoo's arm. Sir, I think we need to leave. Now. But the guards had moved closer. There was no way out. Chancellor Vextar stood up. The Galactic Senate has voted on Resolution 2387E, the complete enslavement of the human species. The words hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. Around the stadium, thousands of aliens began making noises. Some seemed happy. Others sounded upset. The vote, said the Chancellor, was 723 in favor, 89 against, and 35 who chose not to vote. Prime Minister Klikthara's metal voice continued the terrible announcement. Earth has 30 standard days to surrender completely. All human governments must dissolve. All human weapons must be destroyed. All humans must accept Federation control. And if we refuse? Nari asked, her voice shaking. Then your planet will be destroyed from orbit, the Chancellor said simply. Every human city will burn. Every human life will end. This is not a negotiation. This is a fact. The room erupted in alien voices. Some creatures seemed to be arguing with each other. Others were celebrating. You three will remain here as examples, Prime Minister Klikthara announced. Your ship will return to Earth with our message. The Federation is merciful. We offer slavery instead of death. Your leaders should be grateful. Guards surrounded the three humans. Energy weapons pointed at them from every direction. As they were dragged away, Hyunwoo heard the Chancellor speaking to someone. Begin moving the occupation fleets. 50,000 troops should be enough for the surrender ceremony. These primitives will not resist. The last thing Hyunwoo saw was the giant screen showing Earth, small and blue and helpless, surrounded by red symbols marking the Federation ships moving toward it. In a dark cell deep inside the station, the three humans sat in silence. Finally, Dongmin spoke. They made a mistake, he said quietly. What do you mean? Asked Nari. They think they know humans. They think they understand us. Dongmin's voice was hard as stone. They have no idea what they just started. President So-young stood in the emergency meeting room deep under the capital city. Around the table sat the leaders of every major nation on Earth. The room was quiet except for the sound of air moving through the vents. The message came through 3 hours ago, So-young said. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly as she held the data pad. The new soul returned without our people. The aliens want us to surrender in 27 days. Surrender? The Russian president slammed his hand on the table. We should fight. We have nuclear weapons. Against ships that can destroy planets? The British Prime Minister shook her head. We saw what their weapons did to that asteroid. It simply disappeared. Jin Ho, the head of Earth's Defense Initiative, had been quiet during the meeting. Now he stood up. We have been preparing for this possibility since first contact. Everyone looked at him. So-young raised an eyebrow. Preparing how? When the new soul left for the Federation, we kept part of their ship. The part with their computer systems and shield generators. We have been studying them for 3 months. The Chinese premier leaned forward. What did you learn? Jin Ho pressed a button on his tablet. The room's main screen showed complex diagrams and numbers. Their technology is better than ours, but it has weaknesses. Dr. Yunji found something interesting about their energy shields. The screen changed to show wave patterns and mathematical equations. All Federation shields use the same basic design. Jin Ho continued. They create a field that stops physical objects and energy weapons. But every field has a resonance frequency. If you hit it with the right frequency, the shield does not just fail, it explodes. So-young studied the screen. How big of an explosion? Think of a small nuclear bomb for each shield generator, Dr. Yunji said as she entered the room. She looked tired, like she had not slept for days. I have been testing this for weeks. The energy feedback creates a fusion reaction using the shield's own power source. The room became very quiet. Finally, the Japanese Prime Minister spoke. You want to turn their own defenses against them. Not just their defenses, Jinho said. We want to use this against their leaders. So-young stood up and walked to the window. Outside she could see the city lights. Normal people living normal lives, not knowing that aliens wanted to make them slaves. Tell me your plan, she said. Jinho changed the screen to show Earth and the approaching alien fleet. The aliens think we are weak and scared. They expect us to surrender without a fight. We will give them what they expect. You want to actually surrender? The German chancellor sounded shocked. We want them to think we are surrendering, Yunji explained. I have been building resonance transmitters for 3 months, small devices that can create the frequency needed to overload their shields. We can hide them all over the planet. The screen showed the alien fleet formation. According to their message, they plan to send their top leaders to Earth for a surrender ceremony. They want to show the galaxy how powerful they are by making us bow down to them. So-young turned back to the table. How many leaders? The message says 200 of their highest-ranking officials, plus 50,000 soldiers for the ceremony. Jinho smiled, but it was not a happy smile. They want to make an example of us. And we will make an example of them, So-young said quietly. The Indian Prime Minister looked worried. This plan requires perfect timing. What if something goes wrong? Then we all die, Yunji said simply. But if we do nothing, we become slaves. At least this way. We fight back. For the next 3 weeks, Earth worked like never before. Every factory, every laboratory, every military base worked day and night. The resonance transmitters were small, about the size of a cell phone. They were hidden in buildings, buried in parks, placed on satellites, even put inside cars and trucks. The aliens sent messages demanding specific details about the surrender ceremony. They wanted it held in New York, at the ruins of the old United Nations building. They wanted cameras from every nation to broadcast it to the whole galaxy. They wanted the leaders of every country to be there to bow down. So-young agreed to everything. She even asked if more alien leaders could come to witness Earth's surrender. The aliens were pleased. They thought humans were showing proper respect for their superiors. 5 days before the ceremony, the alien fleet arrived in Earth's solar system. Through telescopes, humans could see hundreds of ships, each one bigger than anything Earth had ever built. The largest ship was the size of a city, covered in weapons and armor. They are not taking any chances, Dong-hee, the military analyst, told So-young. That fleet could destroy our planet 10 times over. Good, So-young replied. The more confident they feel, the better our plan works. The aliens sent scout ships to check Earth's defenses. They found exactly what they expected to find. Nothing. No orbital weapons, no hidden fleets, no secret bases. Earth looked completely helpless. The night before the ceremony, So-young could not sleep. She stood on the balcony of her apartment and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there, alien creatures were planning to make slaves of every human being. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Jinho. All transmitters are in position. We are ready. So-young typed back. Remember, we only get one chance. The morning of the ceremony was bright and clear. Thousands of people gathered in New York, but they stayed far away from the United Nations ruins. The area was empty except for the platform where So-young would give her surrender speech. At exactly noon, the alien ships appeared in the sky above New York. They were huge, blocking out the sun. Smaller ships came down and landed around the ceremony area. The ground shook as the massive vessels touched down. Ramps opened and aliens began walking out. So-young recognized some of them from the Federation meeting. Chancellor Vextar was there wearing a golden uniform covered in medals. Prime Minister Klikthara clicked her metal arms together as she walked. Behind the leaders came thousands of alien soldiers, all carrying weapons and wearing energy shields that glowed blue around their bodies. The ceremony began exactly as planned. So-young walked to the microphone with her head down, looking defeated. The cameras broadcast to the entire galaxy as she began to speak. Today, Earth surrenders to the Galactic Federation. We accept our place as servants to our betters. We will obey all Federation laws. We will serve the galaxy with our lives. Chancellor Vextar stepped forward. Humans, you have made the wise choice. The Federation is merciful to those who know their place. So Young continued reading her prepared speech. Around the ceremony area, aliens celebrated. Some were taking pictures. Others were already making plans for ruling Earth. None of them noticed, the small devices hidden all around them beginning to charge up. In closing, So Young said, her voice getting stronger, I want the galaxy to remember this day. She looked directly at the camera. Remember what happens when you try to make humans into slaves? She pressed the button hidden in her jacket. Every resonance transmitter on Earth activated at the same moment. The frequency hit the alien shields like a hammer hitting glass. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then the shields began to overload. The first explosion killed Chancellor Vextar instantly. The second took out Prime Minister Click Thura. Within 5 seconds, every alien on the planet's surface was dead. Their own shields turned into bombs that destroyed them. So Young was thrown to the ground by the explosions, but she was far enough away to survive. Around her, the ceremony area looked like a battlefield. Where proud alien leaders had stood moments before, there was nothing but smoke and fire. In space, the alien fleet had no idea what happened. Their leaders had simply vanished. Panic spread through their ships as they tried to understand how. An entire army had been destroyed in seconds. So Young stood up, covered in dust but alive. She looked at the camera that was still broadcasting. Galaxy, she said, her voice carrying to every world with Federation technology. You made one mistake. You thought humans would quietly become your slaves. You were wrong. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the warship Retribution and watched the Cedian home system grow larger on his screens. 6 months had passed since Earth destroyed the Federation leadership. 6 months of building, planning, and preparing for war. The ship around him was nothing like the elegant Federation vessels. The Retribution was built for one purpose: killing aliens. Heavy armor covered every surface. Weapons pointed in all directions. The inside was cramped and dark, designed for function instead of comfort. Captain, said Lieutenant Yujin from her station, we are picking up Cedian fleet movements. They know we are coming. Minho nodded. The Cedians were a warrior race, proud of their fighting skills. They had ruled this part of space for over 1,000 years. Their leader, war leader Thok, had never lost a battle. Today would be different. How many ships do they have? Minho asked. 412 warships, Yujin replied. Almost twice our numbers. Behind Minho stood Colonel Ki Tai, the ship's ground force commander. Sir, our Marines are ready. Every soldier knows what we are here to do. Minho looked at the tactical display. Earth's fleet had 200 ships, all built in secret asteroid bases using stolen Federation technology. But these were not copies of alien designs. Human engineers had made them harder, meaner, and more deadly. Open a channel to all ships, Minho ordered. The communication screen showed the faces of other human captains. Some looked nervous, others looked angry. All of them looked determined. Today we begin paying back the galaxy for what they tried to do to us, Minho said. The Cedians voted to make us slaves. They celebrated when they thought Earth would be destroyed. Now they will learn what happens when you threaten humanity. Captain Sujin, commanding the destroyer Soul's Fury, spoke up. Sir, what about prisoners? What about civilians? Minho's voice became cold. There are no civilians. There are no prisoners. The galaxy wanted to destroy every human man, woman, and child. We will show them the same mercy they planned to show us. The human fleet moved toward the Cedian home, world. Soon, alien ships appeared on their sensors. The Cedian fleet was impressive, sleek vessels with advanced weapons and powerful shields. War leader Thok's face appeared on Minho's screen. The Cedian looked like a cross between a bear and a lizard, covered in natural armor plates. Battle scars marked his face and arms. Human captain, Thok growled. You have entered Cedian space. Turn around now, or we will destroy you. War leader, Thok, Minho replied calmly. We are here to discuss your vote in the Federation Senate. You remember. The vote to enslave my species. Thok's eyes narrowed. The Federation is dead. That vote no longer matters. Leave our space, and we will let you live. No, Minho said simply. You voted to destroy humanity. Now humanity votes to destroy you. The communication ended. Immediately, both fleets began moving toward each other. The Cetian ships formed perfect battle formations, just as their military traditions demanded. The human ships spread out in loose groups, looking almost random. The first Cetian missiles launched when the fleets were still far apart. Hundreds of bright lights streaked across space toward the human ships. It looked like the battle would be over quickly. Then the human ships did something the Cetians had never seen before. Instead of trying to dodge the missiles, they flew directly into them. The human armor was so thick that most missiles barely scratched it. What are they doing? War leader Thok demanded from his command ship. He got his answer when the human fleet opened fire. Instead of elegant energy beams like other races used, the humans fired solid metal projectiles, huge chunks of tungsten and steel, moving at incredible speeds. The Cetian shields were designed to stop energy weapons. They did almost nothing against physical projectiles moving at near light speed. The first human volley punched through 6 Cetian ships like they were made of paper. But the real surprise came next. As Cetian ships began to explode, the human ships broadcast something across all communication channels. It was the sound of Cetian warriors dying, their screams, their final words, their terror. Turn off those transmissions, War Leader Thok ordered. We cannot, sir, his communication officer replied. They are broadcasting on every frequency we use. Our own people can hear their comrades dying. This was human psychological warfare. Every Cetian ship heard their friends and family members being killed. Fear began to spread through the alien fleet. Lieutenant Yu Jin smiled as she watched her. Screens. Captain, Cetian formation is breaking apart. Several ships are trying to retreat. No retreats, Minho said. Commander Lee, activate the hunter-killer drones. From each human ship, small robotic craft launched. They were too fast and too small for Cetian weapons to hit effectively. The drones sought out fleeing ships and attached to their hulls. Then, they exploded, tearing holes in the alien vessels. The Battle of Cetian Prime lasted 4 hours. When it ended, not a single Cetian warship remained. War Leader Thok's final transmission was a plea for mercy for his world's civilians. Minho's response was broadcast to the entire galaxy. You showed us no mercy. We will show you none. The human fleet moved to Cetian Prime, the alien homeworld. It was a beautiful planet, covered in purple forests and silver cities. 5 billion Cetians lived there, including families, children, and old people who had never hurt anyone. Begin orbital bombardment, Minho ordered. The human ships opened fire on the planet below, not on military targets or government buildings, but on everything. Cities burned, forests disappeared. The purple oceans began to boil. Some human officers looked uncomfortable. Captain Jae Sung contacted Minho privately. Sir, there are civilian shelters down there. Children. The Federation planned to kill our children, Minho replied. Every human child on Earth was going to be born a slave or die before birth. Remember that. The bombardment continued for 3 days. When it ended, Cetian Prime was a dead world. The atmosphere was poison. The cities were ruins. Nothing moved on the surface. The human fleet moved to the next Cetian colony world. Then the next. Then the next. Each world died the same way, burned from orbit until nothing lived. Within 2 weeks, the Cetian species was extinct. A civilization that had existed for thousands of years was gone forever. The galaxy watched in horror as human ships broadcast footage of the dead worlds. The message was clear. This was what happened to species that voted to enslave humanity. Admiral Kretor of the Vorthian Collective called an emergency meeting of the remaining Federation species. His blue skin was pale with fear as he addressed the gathering. Humans are not trying to conquer us, he said. They are trying to eliminate us completely. Every species that voted for human enslavement is being hunted down and exterminated. On the screen behind him were images of 3 more dead star systems. The humans had found the Takari Empire and the Zelon Republic. Both species were now extinct. "What do we do?" asked Ambassador Melvara of the peaceful Altarian people. Admiral Kretor's answer was grim. "We fight, or we die. Those are the only choices the humans have left us." In space near the ruins of Satian Prime, Captain Minho received a message from Earth. It was from President So Young, now calling herself Empress of the Terran Empire. "Excellent work, Captain," her message said. 4 species eliminated, 43 to go. The galaxy wanted to teach us that might makes right. Time to show them we learned the lesson perfectly. Minho looked at his fleet, now veteran killers, hardened by genocide. "Set course for the Krex Empire," he ordered. "Time for the next lesson." Admiral Tae-hyun commanded the largest human fleet ever assembled. 2,000 warships filled the space around Earth's orbital shipyards. Each ship was bigger and deadlier than the vessels that had destroyed the Cetians 2 years ago. The fleet was ready for the next phase of humanity's war against the galaxy. In 2 years, 12 alien species had been completely destroyed. Their worlds were dead rocks floating in space. Their colonies had been burned to ash. Not one member of those species remained alive anywhere in the galaxy. "Admiral," reported Commander Boram from the flagship's tactical station. "Intelligence reports that the remaining Federation species are forming an alliance. They call it the Galactic Liberation Front." Tae-hyun studied the star charts on his command screen. Red marks showed human-controlled systems. Black marks showed the dead worlds where alien species used to live. Blue marks showed the remaining Federation territories. "How many ships do they have?" he asked. "Over 10,000, sir," Boram replied. The Krex Empire contributed 3,000 heavy battleships. The Vorth Collective added 2,000 technology vessels. The Mind Bridge Commonwealth brought psionic warfare ships. Even the peaceful Altarians are building warships now. General Wu Jin, the fleet's ground commander, laughed harshly. "Let them come. We have been preparing for this." The human fleet was no longer just stolen Federation technology. Earth scientists had spent 2 years improving everything. Human ships now had weapons that could punch through any known shield. Their armor could survive direct hits from antimatter bombs. Their speed was faster than anything the aliens had ever seen. But the real advantage was something the aliens could never understand: human ruthlessness. "Sir," Commander Boram continued, "we are also receiving intelligence about a new alien weapon, something called the Unity Field. It is supposed to be able to disable human technology." Tae-hyun frowned. "Disable how?" "Unknown, sir. Our spies only know that the Vorth Collective has been working on it for months. They claim it will level the playing field. The Alliance struck first. Their massive fleet appeared at the edge of the Proxima system, where humans had built their forward supply base. The alien commander was Fleet Admiral Zektar of the Krex Empire, a veteran warrior with over 100 victories. Tae-hyun's fleet was smaller. Only 800 ships were in the system when the aliens attacked. The odds seemed to favor the Liberation Front. The Battle of Proxima Station began when the alien fleet activated their new weapon. Every human ship suddenly went dark. Engines stopped working. Weapons powered down. Communication systems failed. "What is happening?" Tae-hyun demanded, but even his command chair had stopped working. In the silence, Admiral Zektar's voice came over the ship's emergency speakers. "Humans, your technology is now useless. The Unity Field disrupts all artificial systems. Your ships are helpless. Surrender now, and we will give you quick deaths." For the first time in 2 years, human ships were losing. The alien fleet closed in, ready to destroy the helpless human vessels. Then something unexpected happened. The human ships began moving again. Captain Dongwu aboard the cruiser Earth's Vengeance was the first to figure it out. "The field only affects Federation-based technology," he reported on emergency radio. "Switch to backup systems, the ones built with pure human engineering." Human ships had 2 sets of everything. One set used improved alien technology. The other set was built from scratch by human engineers, using completely different principles. The Unity Field could not affect systems it did not understand. Within minutes, the human fleet was fully operational again. But now they were very angry. "All ships," Tae-hyun broadcast, Show them what happens when you try to make human technology useless. The human counterattack was devastating. Instead of the usual tungsten projectiles, they fired something new, crystallized antimatter warheads that could not be stopped by any known shield technology. The alien fleet had been celebrating victory. Suddenly, their ships began exploding in balls of pure energy. The antimatter warheads deleted everything they touched from existence. Admiral Zektar's flagship lasted longer than most, but even its massive armor could not survive a direct antimatter hit. As his ship died around him, he sent a final message to the Liberation Front. The humans have weapons we cannot fight. Save yourselves. The Battle of Proxima was over in 6 hours. The alien fleet was completely destroyed. Not one ship escaped to warn the others, but the real shock came when the news reached Earth. Empress So Young was not celebrating the victory. Instead, she was furious. They tried to disable our technology, she said to the Emergency Council meeting. They tried to make us helpless so they could murder us easily. This requires a response they will never forget. Dr. Sun He, Earth's top physicist, had been working on classified projects for months. Now she revealed what she'd been building. Project Prometheus is complete, she announced. We can now destabilize stars. The council room became very quiet. Even the hardened military leaders looked shocked. You mean destroy entire solar systems? Asked Defense Minister Chang Ho. I mean make suns explode, Sun He replied simply. Turn them into supernovas. Everything within 50 light-years dies instantly. Empress So Young smiled coldly. Perfect. Begin with the Krex home system. The Krex Empire controlled 47 worlds in 12 star systems. Their home system contained their capital world, their greatest cities, their most important military bases. 8 billion Krex lived there, including their emperor and their entire government. The human weapon was small, just a single ship with special equipment. It jumped into the Krex home system and fired one missile at their sun. The missile contained technology that could change how nuclear fusion worked inside stars. The Krex detected the human ship and tried to stop it, but they were too late. The missile reached their sun and burrowed deep into its core. For 12 hours nothing seemed to happen. The Krex celebrated, thinking the human weapon had failed. Then their sun began to change color. It grew brighter, much brighter. Emperor Thakmor was in his palace when the scientists brought him the terrible news. Your Majesty, our sun is becoming unstable. The human weapon is causing a fusion cascade. In 6 hours, our star will explode. Can we stop it? The Emperor asked. No, Your Majesty. Nothing can stop it now. We need to evacuate the entire system immediately. But 6 hours was not enough time. The Krex had thousands of ships, but they could not evacuate 8 billion people. Most would have to be left behind. As the sun grew brighter and brighter, panic spread across all the Krex worlds. Ships loaded with refugees tried to escape, but there were not enough ships. Billions of Krex looked up at their sky and saw their own death approaching. Emperor Thakmor made a final broadcast to his people. Citizens of the Empire, we die today because we tried to enslave humanity. Remember this lesson in whatever comes after death. Some enemies should never be made. The Krex sun exploded in the most violent supernova in recorded history. The explosion was so bright it could be seen from other galaxies. Every world in the system was instantly vaporized. The shockwave destroyed everything within 20 light-years. The galaxy watched in absolute terror as an entire civilization disappeared in a flash of light. But humanity was not finished. The next target was the Vorth Collective's home system. Dr. Sun He's weapon turned their sun into another supernova. 5 billion Vorth died in seconds. Then came the Mindbridge Commonwealth. Their home star exploded exactly like the others. In 1 week, 3 major civilizations had been erased from existence. The surviving Federation species finally understood what they were fighting, not just an enemy, but a force that could destroy solar systems. Ambassador Zil Ara of the Altarian people sent a desperate message to Earth. Please, we surrender. We will do anything you want. Just do not destroy our sun. Empress So Young's reply was broadcast to the entire galaxy. The time for surrender has passed. You voted to enslave us. You tried to disable our ships so you could murder us helplessly. Now you will learn what extinction feels like. Fleet Admiral Kang Day stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Humanity's Wrath and watched the broken remains of the Federation capital station drift past his ship. 5 years had passed since the galaxy voted to enslave Earth. 5 years. That had changed everything. The Great Ring Station that had once held 847 species was now a tomb. Its lights were dark. Its docking bays were empty. The billions of creatures who had lived there were dead or scattered across the galaxy as refugees. "Sir," reported Commander In Kyung, "we have found the old Senate chamber. It is still intact." Kang Dae nodded. He had come here for a reason. There was something he needed to finish. Around his ship floated the largest fleet humanity had ever built. 5,000 warships, each one capable of destroying planets. But they were no longer needed. The war was over. Of the original 847 Federation species, only 335 still existed. The rest had been completely exterminated. Their worlds burned, their colonies destroyed, every last member of their species dead. The surviving aliens had learned to fear humanity more than death itself. They obeyed every human order without question. They provided resources, technology, and labor to the growing Terran Empire. They had become exactly what they had planned to make humanity: slaves. "Admiral," Commander In Kyung continued, "Empress Min Kyung's latest message has arrived." Kang Dae accepted the datapad and read the message from Earth's ruler. The woman who had once been President So Young now controlled half the galaxy from her throne on Earth. The message was simple: find any remaining Federation leaders. Make sure they understand the lesson completely. Kang Dae made his way through the abandoned station. His boots echoed in the empty corridors where thousands of aliens had once walked. Now there was only silence and the distant hum of life support systems. The Senate chamber was exactly as he remembered from the historical recordings. Thousands of seats arranged in circles around the central platform, where human representatives had been told they would become slaves. Most of the seats were empty now. Dust covered everything. But in one corner, Kang Dae's soldiers had found something interesting. Chancellor Vextar was still alive. The reptilian leader was old and broken, kept alive by emergency medical equipment in a hidden survival pod. His yellow eyes were dim and his golden uniform was torn and dirty. "Human," Vextar whispered when he saw Kang Dae approach. I remember you. You were one of the diplomats." "No," Kang Dae replied. "But I remember you. I watched the recording of your speech, the one where you voted to enslave my species." Vextar tried to move, but he was too weak. "Please," he begged. "The Federation is gone. My people are extinct. I am the last of my kind. Show mercy." Kang Dae pulled up a chair and sat down facing the dying alien. "Mercy? Let me tell you about mercy, Chancellor. When you voted to enslave humanity, did you show mercy to our children? When you planned to destroy our cities, did you think about our innocent civilians? We thought you were dangerous," Vextar said weakly. "We thought you would threaten the galaxy." "You were right," Kang Dae said simply. "We were dangerous, but not in the way you expected. You thought we would build weapons to conquer you. Instead, you taught us that the only safety comes from eliminating threats completely." The old alien's eyes widened with understanding. You learned from us." "We learned everything from you," Kang Dae confirmed. "You taught us that the strong rule the weak. You taught us that mercy is weakness. You taught us that survival requires destroying your enemies before they can hurt you. We were excellent students." Vextar began to cry, a strange sight from a creature that had once commanded the galaxy. "What have we done? What have we created?" "You created us," Kang Dae said. "Before you threatened Earth, humans argued about war and peace. We debated the ethics of violence. We felt guilt when we hurt others. You changed that forever." The Admiral stood up and drew his weapon. "You wanted to show the galaxy what happens to species that oppose the Federation. Instead, we showed the galaxy what happens to species that threaten humanity. Wait, Vextar pleaded. The survivors. They will never threaten you again. They are too afraid. You have won. Is that not enough? Kangde considered this. Outside the station, 335 alien species worked as servants to the Terran Empire. They mined resources, built ships, and obeyed human commands without question. None of them would ever dare to oppose humanity again. You know what the difference is between you and us? Kangde asked. When you had power, you used it to threaten others. When we have power, we use it to make sure no one can ever threaten us again. He pulled the trigger. Chancellor Vexitar died instantly, the last living symbol of the old galactic order. 20 years later, Dr. Hanul walked through the ruins of an ancient city on what had once been the Altarian homeworld. Her young daughter Sojin followed, behind her asking questions about everything she saw. The planet was safe now. The radiation had faded and plants were beginning to grow again. But no Altarians lived here anymore. They had been moved to work camps on other worlds, serving humanity as laborers and servants. Mama, Sojin asked, pointing at a broken statue. Who built this city? The Altarians, Hanul replied. They were one of the alien species that used to live here. Where did they go? Hanul knelt down next to her daughter. They made a mistake, sweetheart. They tried to hurt humanity a long time ago. Sojin's eyes were wide with curiosity. What happened to them? They learned that some choices cannot be undone, Hanul explained gently. The galaxy voted to enslave Earth. Humanity voted to survive. In the end, only one vote mattered. The little girl looked around at the empty city, trying to understand. Will they ever come back? Hanul stood up and took her daughter's hand. As they walked away from the ruins, she gave the answer that every human child learned. No, sweetheart, they will never come back. That is how we stay safe. Above them, human patrol ships moved across the sky, watching over a galaxy that had learned to fear the species it had once planned to enslave. The galaxy was quiet now, peaceful in the way that comes only after all opposition has been eliminated. Earth's children would grow up in a universe where no alien species would ever again be strong enough to threaten humanity. It had cost the lives of billions of creatures, the destruction of entire civilizations, and the transformation of humanity itself, but humanity was safe. And in the end, that was all that mattered. In the ruins of the old Federation capital, a monument had been built. On it were carved the names of every species that had voted to enslave Earth. Below the names was a simple message. Here lie the species that taught humanity the price of survival. They voted for our enslavement. We voted for their extinction. Let all who remain remember which vote counted. The galaxy had wanted to make humanity into slaves. Instead, they had created something far more dangerous, a species that would never again allow itself to be threatened. The lesson was complete.